At the end of the day, what you do makes a difference. Even if it is scratching the surface, you're still doing something that is for the betterment of everybody else. It was, I think it was like a plastics facility or something along that lines. But we were dealing with persistent groundwater contamination, and the site was near the river, and the water table obviously flows towards the river. And we were seeing a lot of like hydrocarbons and things in the groundwater samples. We kind of narrowed it down to a spot on this site, and we rented a backhoe, and I started digging with the backhoe, and I started pulling up like old 55-gallon drums of like solvents. And it was like something out of a movie that you see with like the toxic waste drums. It was nuts. These drums had probably been buried for decades, and they were rusting and they were leaking, and we had to be very careful how we pulled them out. And back then, nobody cared about what they did with it. They just dug a hole in the ground and threw that stuff in. But that kind of brings us to the point we're at now. What do we know about the things that we're throwing in, that we're manufacturing now? What are the long-term effects of those? How do those break down? And I'm sure we've gotten a lot better figuring that stuff out, but what happens if you landfill, all these electronic products or plastics and things of that nature?
We scrap what we don't need, and whatever we do need, if we can sell it in the store, we'll take it up to the store, let them test it, sell it.
Our model is kind of built on pulling a lot of these things back out. As long as it's not data related, we try and find a home for it, because a lot of these things are still good. It could be a camera, it could be stereo, speakers, computer, something along that lines. That people can still find reuse in. Everything that we have nowadays is so disposable. You think of like a flat screen TV. There used to be TV repair shops and things of that nature. If your TV broke, you could take it to somebody, and for 50, 100 bucks, you could get your TV fixed and reuse it. But now you can buy a new TV for $200 or $300, and it makes no sense to go get something repaired, and they're manufactured in such a way that if one board goes out, it's probably taking a couple other boards with it.
Before, I was just like throwing batteries away, and like working here, I see how important it is, because like a couple months ago, we had a store fire, and it was due to batteries. So it's like batteries is like very, very important.
Right now, we deal with a battery problem, right? Everything is manufactured with lithium batteries, and there's no good outlet for these things. They're a fire hazard, they're a safety hazard, and a lot of items now are manufactured with the battery built into them, and they're not easily accessible without creating a safety hazard trying to get to them. Even though you don't think about it on a daily basis, we actually have a purpose in what we're doing instead of just making money. People need to be incentivized to recycle, right? We do a lot of business with other businesses because we shred their hard drives, we destroy data for them. We don't charge for our services, but most people don't do that because there's no incentive for them to actually get up and waste their time in their mind to go take these things. So a lot of times, I drive around my neighborhood in the morning and I see electronics on the curb. Stop buying and use what you have until you can't anymore. Or if you need to replace something and you want something new, put it in the hands of somebody else that can use it. Make sure that people have what they need before the stuff goes into the landfill and finds its way to end of life before it's really end of life.
It's just important to recycle. And I didn't know that until I started working here.